Hello, welcome back to my channel. Last week, I went into some fall albums that I really loved, and I felt it was only right to my dear subscribers, all 30 of you, that I went over my top 10 fall movies. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This list is not going to be horror-centric. I'm going to go right off the dome. So before you go in the comments and you're like, hey dude, you forgot The Exorcist, you forgot all that, right? These movies, I love those movies, okay? They're near and dear to my heart, but they're not going to be on this list. There's a couple horror movies on here because I felt like I had to represent a little bit, specifically with videos that I think feel fall-y, horror or not, right? But I wanted to get that clear. So this is not going to be a horror-centric list. So if you hate horror movies, stick around. I promise there'll be something in here for you. I guarantee it. So starting off with number 10, The Place Beyond the Pines, right? Gosling, Bradley Cooper, that creepy dude from the movie where they're flying and there's cameras and shit. I have no idea what that guy's name is. Some other guy, right? There's people in this movie, and they're good. It's a great movie, is what I'm trying to say. This is kind of the oddball pick this list. That's why it's number 10. I love this movie. It's awesome, right? I don't know if fall is necessarily the vibe it's going for, but it is for me, right? He's driving like a Honda CRX or something. He's doing stunts. He's robbing banks. Shit is badass. Very fall to me. Feels fall. The theme is just very dark and kind of creepy, mysterious, and sad. Can't recommend this movie enough. So that's number 10. All right, number 9, coming in hot, is going to be Green Room, starring the late, great Anton Yelchin. This was the first A24 movie I ever saw. My friend and I saw it on a whim, went to the theater. We showed up for the wrong time for the movie we wanted to see, so we were like, what are we going to do, right? They were showing Green Room. We're like, boom, we went. We were like the only people in the theater, I think. Cannot recommend this movie enough. This is one of my favorite action movies of the last 15, 20 years. It's low-key. It's kind of low budget. Very, very full of like flavor and action and just like, oh my God. Insane, really gross, gratuitous fight scenes. Just very, very satisfying to watch. Very dark. And I think that this is so fall. It screams fall. It's very punk music centric, which I think is kind of a fall sort of genre. It kind of fits with it. So couldn't recommend this movie enough. That's number 9. All right, guys, number 8. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Silver Linings Playbook. Now this is kind of another oddball pick, right? I don't think there's really any other movie on this list that fits in this sort of vein. It's a rom-com, probably my favorite rom-com of all time. It's obviously like Thanksgiving and football season themed. I love this movie. Came to it as a surprise. Was not expecting it to be good, right? I think I watched it with my mom the first time, which is like absurd and probably shouldn't have happened, right? But it's a good movie. Bradley Cooper's awesome. Jennifer Lawrence does a really good job. Chris Tucker's in this movie, and I am like a sleeper Chris Tucker fan. Goated dude. Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. All goated movies. Definitely the first two are way better, but it's all right, Chris Tucker, I got you. But yeah, love this movie. Definitely my favorite rom-com ever. So, okay, now we're getting into the gritty. Number 7, gonna be Four Brothers. This movie is kind of goofy, right? It's a guilty pleasure, okay? Now this list is my favorite movies. I'm not talking about, right, they don't have to be masterpieces, right? So before you run in the comments and you're like, the plot sucked, Mark Wahlberg's in it, right? First off, Mark Wahlberg's been in a couple really fucking good movies, okay? Boogie Nights, The Departed, The Other Guys. I mean, come on. He's been in some hits, right? Some bangers, some serious films. So before you start talking shit about Mark Wahlberg, right? This is a great movie. It's set in Detroit. I'm from Michigan. This is probably my favorite movie set in Detroit. Sorry, Eminem. I don't like 8 Mile. I take that back. 8 Mile's all right, but like this movie's better to me. That's absurd. You can't compare these movies. But Four Brothers is just a great action movie. Revenge. Their mom gets killed. These 4 brothers are coming together, right? They're gonna bust ass. You got people playing hockey. There's Thanksgiving happens. Sofia Vergara's in it. Fucking Tyrese Gibson is in it, dude. I love Tyrese. Andre 3000's in it, bro. This movie is stacked. The more I think about it, the more I want to watch it. So definitely solid pick for number 7. Okay. Number 6, gotta go with October Sky. This goes out to my boy, Jake Gyllenhaal, one of my favorite actors of all time. This was probably the first movie that I remember seeing with him. He is awesome, dude. I really love him as an actor. And this movie, for how young he was, I think he really knocked it out of the park. And this movie is so good. His dad, the actor who plays his dad, I cannot remember his name. But one of my favorite acting performances of all time is his dad in this movie. I think it's so well done. If you've ever, if you have a dad, you understand, man. This shit can get hard, right? There's whatever. I'm not trying to get too deep with this shit. But all I'm saying is October Sky, great movie. It's got October in the name. How can you get more fall than that? He's shooting rockets. It's set in like the 60s, I think. I don't know. It's good, right? So, watch it. All right. We're in the top 5. We're not really messing around anymore, okay? This is where things start to ramp up, okay? These things start to get a little bit scary, man. Things start to get real. This is like real stuff, like the real films here. So, before you run in the comments with your little opinions, just remember that this is arguably the 5 greatest movies to ever be fall-centric. Because it's my opinion and it's good. So, number 5, Sleepy Hollow. Tim Burton. I think this is my favorite Tim Burton movie ever. Johnny Depp, badass. Sophia Richie, I think. I don't remember her name. She's in it. Dude, this movie is so good. The book, if you read the book, right, it was my favorite. One of my favorite books as a kid was Sleepy Hollow, right? And I feel like this movie, of all of the Sleepy Hollow renditions, is like the most encapsulated of the book. There's obviously tons of random stuff that goes on. The book's like 10 pages, right? I mean, it's not very long. Let's keep it a buck. So they take a lot of liberties with this, right? But Ichabod Crane's goated in this movie. Christopher Walken is so good in this movie, man. Again, I would say it's probably my favorite Tim Burton movie, but we'll get to that later. Okay, number 4. Gotta go with Goodwill Hunting, right? I mean, who hasn't seen this movie? Who doesn't love this movie? It's set in Boston. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Robin Williams give some of the best performances they've ever done. Everybody loves this story, right? Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote this movie, sold it to Hollywood. It jump-started their careers. It's a phenomenal movie, very fall-themed. I remember distinctly like seeing the DVD covers for this, and it was always like Robin Williams and Matt Damon sitting on the bench, and there's like leaves falling. And I can't help but every time I watch this movie, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's what I'm picturing. Plus, how you like them apples? Apples are like a fall fruit. So I feel like it's very just like fall adjacent all around. Harvard is like basically Hogwarts in real life. So, or it's like it's like Hogwarts, sort of like Hogwarts. It's like Hufflepuff, basically, if they had their own school. But anyway, I don't want to get into the politics of it. But it's a good movie, and if you haven't seen it, why haven't you seen it? Go and watch this movie. It's phenomenal. Okay, bottom 3, man. And by bottom, I mean top, because these are the best of the best. Creme de la cremes. So, top 3, like I said, this opinion matters. These top 3 are the real deal. If you haven't seen these movies, stop this video and go watch them. Number 3, Hereditary. Now, again, I said I wasn't going to make a horror list, and I promised I wouldn't. And later, I'll make some horror lists, right? Because I'm a huge horror movie fan. I've got top 10 lists. I've got top 10 of the decade, all this stuff, right? We'll get to that later. But how could I not throw in a horror movie? And this is what I think is probably the best horror movie of the last decade, maybe the last 25, 30 years. Hereditary is phenomenal. Ari Aster, the director, is one of my favorite directors right now. I still have not seen that like 4-hour-long movie he did with Joaquin Phoenix, and maybe I never will. But Hereditary and Midsommar are 2 of my favorite movies from this era of horror. I think this movie screams fall. I think mostly like the cult aesthetic is really what gives the fall vibes to me. I'm a big fan of cult horror movies, and this is one of the best ones out there, period. If you haven't seen this, definitely go and see it. It's freaky, creepy. You don't like horror movies, maybe not the best movie for you, but I would definitely recommend getting under a blanket, throwing this one on, making a little vodka martini or something, sitting down, watching this flick. It's great. Watch it, please. Okay, guys, number 2, and this was a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you, because I love this movie dearly. Used to be my favorite movie of all time. But I got to throw it back again to, Jake Gyllenhaal. Donnie Darko is my number 2 pick. Donnie Darko is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, Jake Gyllenhaal's, child actor, knocks it out of the park. The other actors and actresses in this movie are so phenomenal. It's just it's a wonderful movie. And I can't think of something that's more fall-centric for, like, drama, I guess you could say. I guess you could call this a horror movie. I would certainly not. It's more of like a supernatural thriller almost. But this movie's phenomenal. Frank is legendary, right? The Mask is legendary. It's very iconic of Halloween and of fall, and I think that this movie deserves its place here at number 2. Again, Jake Gyllenhaal, one of the GOATs. Okay, now, before we get into my number 1 pick, we gotta go over honorable mentions. So, let me look at my list here real quick, because I got a couple here. I mentioned Tim Burton. I am not the biggest fan of Tim Burton, but he's got like 4 of my favorite movies. I don't want to say ever, but like they're very good, right? Nightmare Before Christmas, I think, is a phenomenal movie. And probably one of my favorite animated movies. Coraline is another just like phenomenal movie. Neil Gaiman, one of my favorite authors of all time. I think it's his best book to film portrayal, in my opinion. I love both of those movies, so respect and shout out to those. I also got to shout out my boy, Ingmar Bergman. He would be on this list, but I just don't think that like Swedish people, he's Swedish, I think, isn't he? Hold on. Swedish, yeah, sorry. So he's Swedish. I don't really think Swedish people really understand what fall is, so I can't really give them, maybe that's like really fucked up, but I just don't, when I think of Sweden, I'm not thinking of fall. So it's just, whatever. Anyway, got to shout out Seventh Seal, which is my favorite Ingmar Bergman film. The first one I ever saw, kind of the go-to. I feel like it's like the darling of his thing. And then Hour of the Wolf, which is another sort of like his horror foray. And I'm sure it'll be on some horror lists I make in the future, but both those movies are phenomenal. Got to shout out Shutter Island. I love that movie. I think it gives off a fall energy. The book is so good, and I think that even though Scorsese did some things that different that I probably would have liked to add from Dennis Lehane's book, I really do think that it was a good portrayal. And DiCaprio is awesome in that role, along with Mark Ruffalo. I think he's great. Dead Poet Society's got to get shouted out. And last shout out would go to Blue Ruin, which is another A24 movie. Actually, screw it. I'm going to shout out a couple more. Sling Blade. Not really much else to say. Signs. There's a Cornfield. Aliens. I feel like Aliens kind of give like a summer sort of vibe. I don't know why, right? I think maybe because they like attack farms and shit. But there's something about Signs that is so fall-centric. It's the corn. It's they're sitting in the basement. They play baseball. That's not fall at all. But I'm disproving my point, so I'm going to stop talking about that movie. Van Helsing. Guilty pleasure. That movie kind of sucks. But Hugh Jackman is so cool. And he wears a really dumbass hat. So, gotta shout that out. For my number 1 pick, you know what it is. It's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Listen, I could throw the entire Harry Potter series here as number 1. And actually, I did. I literally wrote that down. But Goblet of Fire, I think, is the one that encapsulates fall more than any other movie. Goblet of Fire, Prisoner of Azkaban. Those two, and I'm not even saying those are my like top Harry Potter movies. They are. Well, Goblet is. But anyway, those two are still like, there's something about them so fall. And it's just so cozy. And so it's like, but it's not Christmas yet, right? Like Chamber of Secrets, maybe you get some Christmas in there, right? Like you get a little bit of Christmas. You know, there's some Christmas in some of them. But Goblet, I mean, obviously, there's Christmas elements to it, right? But Goblet and Prisoner, there's something about those movies that are just so fall-centric. I think those, honestly, you could throw in Half-Blood in there as well, but those two movies are phenomenal. I love pretty much every Harry Potter movie except for Chamber of Secrets, no offense to Chamber of Secrets. But Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am going to be trying to upload on a weekly cadence. I know the quality of these videos is kind of like, I don't want to say all over the place. It's mostly down. But I did upgrade. I got this lighting thing my girlfriend got me, so that's cool. I feel like it makes me look a lot prettier. I was going to do the back camera, but I didn't. So it's still front-facing camera. Aspect ratio is a little bit messed up. I'm going to try to fix that in the future. But to be honest with you, these videos are just me fucking around, sharing my thoughts. So if you guys really do, you start enjoying these videos and you want to have me do some videos or you have some suggestions, let me know. I'm going to keep making movie and music content as much as I can. And then eventually, hopefully, I'll start throwing up some production stuff and stuff so you can kind of see like what I like to do for fun beyond just consume mindless amounts of content. And also maybe some video game stuff later in the future. I'm not the biggest gamer anymore, but I can talk ad nauseum about video games. So let me know what you guys want to see in the comments here, and I'll keep it rolling. So every Tuesday, I'm going to try to upload.